Hey everybody, Adam here with Whiskey Taste Buds. We call them Scholar Whiskey Pairing. Uh, Welcome to another Whiskey Wednesday whiskey review. Today we got a special whiskey from the infamous Glenfiddich distillery. Glenfiddich is probably most of you know, probably the world's best-selling whiskey, or single malt, I should say, and probably the most awarded as well. Glenfiddich is a excuse me. Glenfiddich is a Speyside distillery owned by William Grant and Sons, one of the few remaining family-owned distilleries in Scotland, and they pump out a lot of whiskey every year. I think they have something like 32 stills, and they produce like 13 million liters of whiskey a year. So that's quite a bit. So with the size they are, it enables them to be sort of front runners on a lot of sort of innovation in the industry, and they have a whole series called the Experimental Series. The first one was, I think, back in 2016. It was an IPA cask finish. Then they have one called Project 20 or XX in Roman numerals. And they basically got 20 malt masters and industry people together. They all went into the warehouse. They each selected a cask, and then they made a whiskey out of all those casks. Yeah, there's a few other ones they've done. The third one they did was this one here that we're featuring today, called Winter Storm. And what's special about this whiskey is it's a 21-year-old Glenfiddich whiskey. So I think it's been ex-bourbon for 21 years, maybe 20 years. And then they finish it in Canadian ice wine barrels. So the malt master from Glenfiddich, Brian Kinsman, he came over to Peller Estates Winery in Niagara, Canada, and was inspired by the ice wine that they made there. And what's special about ice wine is it's a real sweet dessert wine. And the way they get that sweetness from the grape is they actually wait until it freezes, and then they harvest the grapes when it's like below zero or like cold, and that produces a really sweet dessert wine, if you will. So he was inspired by that and thought that would be an amazing barrel to finish a 21-year-old whiskey in. And so that's what they did. They bottled it at 43% ABV. And I'm typically not a huge sort of classic Speyside Glenfiddich type whiskey fan. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. But I tend to go more for other regions, island peated whiskeys and stuff like that. But this one really caught my attention, and we featured it at a whiskey pairing dinner at Locals Restaurant here in the Comox Valley back at the end of January, I guess. And I think we paired it with some seafoods, like fresh oysters and like a pan-seared scallop and stuff like that, and it was fantastic. I'd also, with the sweetness of this whiskey, I would also say it would go well as an after-dinner treat, or with a special dessert as well. Anyway, here we go. So on the nose, I'm getting like real kind of rich, like tropical fruit and like fruit candies. But there's also like an underlying kind of wine notes there as well. Beautiful nose. This is, as you saw when I was pouring it, because I don't have an editor, you have to watch it right from the beginning. When I was pouring it, this was a bottle kill. But it's not that, it hasn't been open that long, so it was really popular, and I've used it at a couple of different events. Well, the heels anyway. Such a rich, beautiful, rich dram. See the beautiful color in there. Yeah, I get like more like candied fruit, and more wine notes. Definitely some oakiness coming through there as well. And then it has sort of like a drying effect. I wouldn't say creamy, but it's definitely like mouth coating. The finish is pretty short. It's not super long, but it's nice and clean and crisp and fresh, which is actually quite nice for like with Speyside whiskeys. You get that sort of crispness to it. Yeah, this is a real special whiskey. I heard a rumor. It's not the cheapest in BC here. It's pretty readily available. A lot of stores have it, but I think it's sitting at around $300 for a bottle, which isn't bad for a 21-year-old whiskey, I guess. But I did hear a rumor that they're not. This is the second edition. They had a first edition. It was so popular they re-released it as a second edition. I heard a rumor they're not going to be doing a third. So, yeah, for collectors, you might want to grab one to have in your collection. It comes in a real super fancy display box and everything. I don't have it here to show you, but it's pretty nice looking box. But I mean, I'm a big fan of opening your bottles too. So if you can afford it, get two. One for your collection and one to drink. Definitely think it's worth everybody trying. Actually, all the Glenfiddich Experimental Series whiskeys are pretty unique, and I'd say worth trying. They've since done one called Fire and Cane too, which is a rum cask finish, but it's peated as well, which is actually really good whiskey, and it's pretty reasonably priced as well, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, I think they've really done a good job of this one. Just through my experience being friends with the folks at Shelter Point, they've done a couple wine finish whiskeys as well, and I've had the honor, if you will, the pleasure, or spoiled to be able to go into their warehouse a few times, and they have like a bunch of the wine barrels sitting there with the whiskey in it, and it's really something that it's a skill in itself. When you're like, I think finishing whiskeys is a little underrated. It's a skill in itself, and you really have to watch them and baby them, especially the wine ones, because it can be absolutely amazing one time you try it, and then a matter of a week or two later, it's just sort of drops right off, and it's like overexposed to the wine almost. So yeah, anytime you taste a whiskey that's got a really nice wine finish, have some respect for that, because that in itself is tricky to do. But yeah, having said that, I would highly recommend this whiskey if you can get your hands on a bottle of it, and or two. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. In these sort of uncertain times, we're kind of itching to do some whiskey tastings and stuff like that. So we're in the process of organizing a virtual tasting, or a virtual whiskey club, if you will. And so if you guys are interested in being a part of that and you want to be in our online whiskey club, contact us either on any of the social media. We're Blue Collar and Scholar. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you can contact us on our website, bluecollarandscholar.com, or our email address, which is bluecollarandscholar@gmail.com. And also, if you like the videos, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We're sitting at about 72 subscribers right now, and we're trying to push, or hopefully get to that. Sort of our goal is to get to that 100 subscriber mark. I know that doesn't seem like a lot to a lot of people, but it is to me. Little spoiler alert, I'm working on something really special once we do hit that number for all our 100 subscribers. So if you want to be a part of that, don't forget to subscribe. Okay? So, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay home.